Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is there for you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the weekly Daily podcast. It's good to be here. I got tons of stuff to talk about, tons of riveting, exciting news and past events that have happened. I say this every week. It's been crazy. It's been crazy busy in a good way. A lot of comedy stuff going on. A lot of things going on. I'll be honest with you. I just got back from a trip, and it wasn't even that intense of a trip, but man, I've just been very tired. It could also be the 3 cups of rice I ate 45 minutes ago. That probably has more to do with why I feel like I'm about to take a nap on camera right now. But it's good to be here, guys. As always, excited to dive into it. I'm not going to talk about the weather. You guys can look it up. I talk about the weather way too much as a way to transition into other topics. I'm going to just get right into it. A bunch of stuff to go over, but the most recent that was kind of funny to me is I'm getting ready to go on one of the bigger tours I've ever gone on, which I'm very excited for. I'm going to be leaving next week to do that, and I'll talk more about the tour in general. But this morning, I did a promo video, or I was trying to record a promo video for one of the shows that I'll be headlining at a comedy club, and basically, it's just putting together kind of a little promo video that will be edited in to a clip of mine, and then just run on social media ads or whatever. And so I'm basically just trying to be like, hey, what's up, guys? Comedian Ben Dailey here, going to be coming to town. Excited for the show, blah, blah, blah. Which, that didn't sound complicated. I feel like, as I said it right there, felt pretty natural. But you know what? I walked around my neighborhood and did about 20 takes, feeling a little anxious that people were going to drive by me or walk near me, just if they could hear me. And boy, when you're just trying, it is cringe to watch. I was trying way too hard. Trying to hype it up like, what's up, everybody? What's up? It's comedian Ben Dailey. And I just every time I'm like, what are you doing? This is not, just be yourself. So fortunately, on about the 21st take, I had come back to my apartment. I was trying to do it outside and be like, guys, I'm going for a morning walk, and I'm also going to XYZ Comedy Club. And I just filmed it, would watch it, would cringe, delete it, try it again, and then repeated that for about 30 minutes. And then I was like, I have to get back to work. So I came back to my apartment, and then I did about another 5 takes just walking circles in my living room. And you know what? I hope I got it. I think I did a semi-normal promo video, but just wanted to let you guys know that, boy, did I not enjoy doing that. It is funny how, as comedians, we're seeking attention. A lot of what we're doing is trying to come up with funny things to say to have people watch and give us attention and laugh. But when it comes to other ways of getting attention, hey, I'm coming to town, it's oh no, I don't know why that becomes cringy versus the other stuff. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, guys. I'm barely a comedian. I'm attempting to become an unknown full-time comedian. That's my goal in life. Just making enough money for people to not know who I am, but for me to send checks to my water utilities company and have them not bounce. I don't know if any of that made sense. Sometimes you get in the certain what do you call them? Present, past, future. What do you call those? You get into certain ways of speaking, and I'm like, I don't know the words I'm supposed to say. Conditional. Maybe that's what it is. Have been. Ooh, man. Too much rice early. But that's what I did. Too much rice earlier today. I'm going to finish my thoughts. I have a bad habit of doing that. I'll start a thought with my mouth. I'll finish it in my head, but not with my words. And then I'll move to the next subject. And then you, the listener, is like, what just happened? Is Ben having a stroke? I had too much rice. My brain is not working. End of that topic. On to the next. The promo was cringe, but yeah, we'll see. Trying to throw a bunch of money into this and get some butts and seats. So we'll see. Excited for that. But let's go back to the beginning of the week, guys. It's been a hectic, crazy, busy week, and there's been a lot of fun stuff. Let's go back to last Tuesday. I was on New Talent Night. This is gonna be a comedy heavy episode, but I think there's gonna be a bunch of interesting stuff, even if you're not into the comedy specifics. But I'm going to start out with the comedy stuff. I was on New Talent Night, which is kind of the like amateur night at Comedy Works, the big club here in Denver. It's one of those things where you sign up over and over and over and get up like once every 3 months or so. It's a very good crowd. It's a very good club. Very fun, but it's kind of a rare, don't get to do it that often, which makes it, I guess, even more fun in a way. But did that on Tuesday night. It was a pretty full crowd, probably, I don't know, 200 people. I'm not good at estimating, but that's my best guess at it. But my basically there's a bunch of people. Everybody's doing like either 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes for the most part, and then the pros at the end, there's a couple of them that'll do maybe like 7 or 10 minutes. So when you're talking about like a 2-hour show, there's like 30 people, 30-ish people, 25, 30 people in the lineup. It's a long show. It's a lot of people, but I was kind of in the middle, I guess, in the middle-ish of the lineup. Maybe somewhere in the middle, late middle. And so I'm sitting in the back. I'm waiting to go up. All is going well. And there was this woman who was on stage, a local comedian here, and it was a scary night. What happened was she passed out on stage. I don't know exactly what happened. I was right behind the stage, behind the curtain, and you hear you hear her talking on stage, and then it went silent, and you start hearing people kind of like make the like, oh no, the worried noises and sound effects. But there was no like commotion, collision, like sound of falling, so I wasn't sure what was going on. Apparently what happened is she passed out. I guess she was like losing consciousness, and I think from what somebody said is that an audience member, because on the side of the stage, like there's audience members that kind of like come up right to the edge of the stage, almost like stage level. So you're basically like on the stage. And I guess one of those audience members saw her falling and got up and caught her, which thank goodness for that, because obviously anybody, if you're passing out and you fall, then like hitting your head is obviously a serious issue and can just be terrible. So it's good that person was there, but then I guess like 10 people, staff and people went on stage and kind of surrounded her, and then they brought her off stage, and I was right behind the stage. So I see the staff brings her off and is like carrying her. She's still unconscious. She's like, not moving, and I'm going up in like 4 or 5 comics at this point. And I see them bring her out. Nobody knows what's going on. She's like just unconscious. They sit her down beside me. They ultimately take her back to the green room. Long story short, paramedics are called. They come. Fortunately, I think everything was okay. She walked off with the paramedics. I don't know exactly what happened. Again, I hope all is well. But obviously a terrible thing to happen to anybody, but it's also something that when something happens like that and you're like getting ready to perform, it does not put you in a good headspace to want to be funny or goofy. Like when somebody's has a medical emergency and you don't know what the outcome of that is yet, it certainly doesn't put you in like a goofy, silly mood to be like, let's go make some jokes. It's a very serious, real life event that I I thought I was gonna bomb, to be honest. I was like, this made me feel a certain way. I'm worried. This is a very strange medical emergency to be around. And fortunately, all was well. Like I said, she walked off with the paramedics. I think all was okay. But that's the funny thing with comedy, where best case scenario, you're goofing with your friends, you're in the moment, you're having a good time, you run on stage, you keep that goofy, silly, fun energy going. But when you do comedy long enough and you're on stage all the time, you go through the entire run of like emotions before going on stage. You want to go on stage with that positive energy, but just life happens. And so the more you do it, the more you go on stage where you're like, oh, this crazy thing just happened and now I have to go be funny. Or, other examples are, this hasn't happened to me, but maybe your girlfriend breaks up with you via text or something right before you go on stage, or you get in a fight with a friend or a girlfriend right before going on stage and you're in a weird headspace, or you just get bad news that something happened to a family member, or a pet passing away. I mean, there's a million things that can put you in a weird headspace, and when you're doing comedy all the time, sometimes that happens like right before you're going on stage to perform, and that is not ideal. Nothing. Oh man, it is fun to go be silly and goofy and have a good time, but boy, is it work. You go, this is a job. When you're like, I don't feel like being funny right now, something serious just happened, but it's like, ready, set, you're up. You got to go. But that was a very serious, scary situation. I don't know that I did a show last year where I was hosting, I think. I wasn't on stage. Another comic was on stage, but while that other comic was on stage for the show that I was hosting and producing, somebody in the audience had a seizure. And, their friends brought them back. Fortunately, they had friends there, and they were, like, very familiar with them having seizures and, like, knowing what to do. So they eliminated a lot of stress and anxiety with, like, how to handle and deal with the situation. So all was okay there. But, yeah, I guess a couple medical things happening now. And then there's just, other situations where maybe an audience member is drunk and like threatening the comics or heckling really bad. And then you have to go on stage and it's just like a very weird energy and have to like talk about it, or maybe you don't talk about it, but then the audience is all thinking about it. So that's, there's a lot of scenarios where comedy is not in the front of your mind when you're trying to do comedy. And that's not really a good thing. But that happened. A couple comics went up before me, and fortunately, for comedy's sake, the room like reset and everything was good. I went and did my set. Had a very good set. It was very fun. Felt very comfortable. Got some big laughs, which was good. Did some jokes I've never done on that stage, at least. So that was a good time. But yeah, hope all is well with the comic that had the medical emergency there. Haven't heard where. I've heard, I think that all is okay, but I don't know exactly what happened. So still some things that are up in the air, but hope all is well there. That was Tuesday at Comedy Works. Wednesday, I flew out to the Badgerland Comedy Festival. It's the first year for that festival, and was excited to go. It's in Wisconsin. A festival in Janesville, Wisconsin, which is like 40 minutes from Madison. First time in Wisconsin. It was a very fun time. It was nice spring weather. I was excited to be there. It was basically the club that it's kind of centered around is called the Comedy Cabin, which is in Janesville. And then they had like local shows kind of throughout the city and then some outside in different cities. But it was a very fun time. It was fun all around. It was, like I said, great weather. It was cool to visit Wisconsin for the first time. Met a bunch of very nice, very funny comedians, and yeah, just all in all, a very fun time. Enjoyed my time there. Flew out Wednesday after work, and then got into Madison about 8:30, and then rented a car. This was the first time I've done a festival where a lot of them I'll drive to, but the ones that I've flown into, I'm like flying into the city where the festival is. Janesville was not in the city. It was like 45 minutes from the airport, like I said. So I had to like fly in, get a rental car for like 4 days. It was a whole thing. But Madison, Wisconsin, not a huge city. The airport and rental, all this stuff was like very manageable. There was very low stress involved, which is nice. But got a rental car, immediately went to Hy-Vee. You guys familiar with Hy-Vee? It's a big grocery store chain, I think, in the Midwest. I'd been there before in Iowa or Nebraska or one of those Midwestern states I've traveled through in the past, and big fan. Big fan of just a grocery store that's nice and I'm familiar with somewhat. It can be so tough to be in a new area and just Googling grocery stores and you see 50 different kinds and you're like, what's one that's going to have the lame food that I need to eat, aka healthy food that cost way too much? So I went there. I bought, gosh, here's the deal, guys. I bought way too much food. I feel really stupid. And I should feel stupid. I don't know what it was. A lot of people say if you go to the grocery store hungry, you buy too much. Maybe that was the case. I went to the grocery store. I needed food for like 3 days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, and I bought enough food for like 13 days. I dropped $120 like I was, about to go live in a bunker for 2 weeks and try to survive a nuclear attack. I don't know why. I just bought anything and everything. So ultimately I had to throw away so much food. I don't know what I was thinking, but I went in there and I was like, let's get stuff for salad. I bought like 12 boiled eggs, bunch of salad stuff, oatmeal. I bought like a 3-pound thing of oatmeal. You know how much oatmeal I ate? I ate 1 bowl of oatmeal. I'm not kidding. 30 servings were in that thing. I left 29 servings on the table. Insane. I bought 2 jars of peanut butter. 2 jars of peanut. I ate a couple scoops of 1 jar of peanut butter. I bought 4 large avocados, had about 3/4 of one of those. I bought 2 bags of lettuce and a bag of spinach. Didn't open 2 of those. I bought about 12 bananas. I bought salami, pepper. I don't know what I was doing. I was just excited to be in a Hy-Vee in Wisconsin. I wanted to support the cheesehead state, apparently. I wanted to support the economy with my dollar bills. But went there. I got to the airport, went to Hy-Vee, which is nice. A lot of places I go to, my strict diet, it's very difficult to shop for that. Or if I go out to eat, it's like very limited stuff and it's very expensive. So it was nice to be able to get stuff and have a rental car and just go to the hotel, because I wasn't able to cook at the hotel, but I was able to buy a bunch of stuff that I didn't need to cook, but still had like healthy food options and meals. So did that. Then I drove down to Janesville and stayed in a Baymont by Wyndham. Okay. You want to know how fancy this place was? Not very fancy. It was... I don't know if I've ever seen this before. They had a pool, which, by the way, don't know if anybody was using that pool. I didn't peek in there, but I can only imagine that it was probably green in the water, aka not clean. I don't know that. Don't quote me, Baymont. Don't sue me, okay? But I know a little thing about pool chemicals, and I feel like hotels are not keeping up with those very well. But they had a pool, but no gym, which was frustrating. It was fine, but it was frustrating. It's like you're going to have a pool, but you don't have two treadmills. You don't have any treadmills that I can have for dinner. Boy, this is totally off the rails, this episode. I stayed there. Made the drive about 40 minutes from Madison Airport, from the Hy-Vee in that area to Janesville. And then, I ate out of my hotel the whole time, which was fine. But here's what I also did. Because hotels, they don't have much, they don't have like silverware and plates and bowls and stuff. You can go down in the morning and maybe get those styrofoam ones. But because I bought salad stuff and all this other stuff, I wanted to have like a big bowl. So I bought like a $5 big plastic bowl at the grocery store as well. And I brought that and I was like, I'll use this as my serving dish for the week. And boy, I tell you what, I don't know if you guys have seen like prison shows or just imagine what prison is like, but I felt like every meal, just my routine in general, felt like I was living in prison. And here's why. I'm eating all my meals out of this plastic. Like, I would go down for the oatmeal, get hot water, and then I'd come up, mix that with the instant oats in my bowl, and I'd stir that up, and then I'd cut bananas, but I didn't have a knife, so I'm just peeling a banana, and then I'm biting it into 50 pieces to then have like little banana pieces in my oatmeal, like a crazy person. And then I'm using the little plastic utensil that I got in the downstairs lobby. But, these plastic utensils, you guys know what plastic is, but these are the cheapest ones. So I'm like stirring it, but it's just bending and breaking. And, that's not super prison-like. That's a little bit. But here's the most prison-like was me washing the dishes, okay? There's no sink. There is a sink. It's a bathroom sink. But there's no kitchen in there. So I'm taking a hand towel from the hotel. I'm using the bar of soap. And then I'm washing my bowl in the sink. But here's the deal, guys. It's a Baymont by Wyndham, whatever it is. It's not a super fancy hotel, okay? Sink is clogged immediately, all right? That sink, just first wash, it's clogged. It's done. I mean, it won't drain at all. So what do? I'm washing this bowl out of the bathtub. Okay, and I was about 1.5 washes in, maybe the second time I'm washing, and I'm like, I feel like I'm in prison. This is such a sketchy. I mean, I don't care. It's not even sketchy. It's just it was a funny way to like. It felt like I was surviving in a hotel versus just like eating healthy and didn't have utensils. It felt like I was like, all right, this is post-apocalyptic world, and all I could find is a bowl and some oatmeal, and I'm surviving in this basement hidden hotel room that was vacant. But yeah, I did that, and I just a bunch of food that I didn't realize I wasn't going to be able to get to. So I felt a little silly and foolish for that, but that's okay. I'll also say, staying at the hotel during my stay there, housekeeping, this lady was weird. I'm not saying all housekeeping people are weird, but I feel like housekeeping, they give you those little signs, okay, that say like still dreaming or please don't come in, and you put it on the door handle so they see it and go, oh, the person doesn't want me to come in. They're probably still sleeping. We don't need to go in and clean. But this housekeeping lady specifically, but I feel like a lot of housekeeping in general, they're like trying to get in. I think they might get paid per room, which makes sense, I guess, if that's the case. But even still, it's like if you're going to try to come in no matter what, what's the point of the little sign? Okay, why am I putting this sign up to go, don't come in here, just to have you go, do you want me to come in here? To knock on that door, and I'm like, scrubbing out my bowl in the tub. I'm like, no, don't come in here, okay? This is embarrassing. What's more embarrassing than a housekeeper coming in when you're naked? Washing a bowl out of the bathtub. That might be equally as embarrassing. But yeah, the lady, she kept trying to come in like every morning, and I was like, I'm going to be here for a couple more days. You don't have to ask every day. Don't come in. Also, I'm like working. I was working from the hotel room Thursday and Friday. So it's like I'm on calls and she's like knocking. Can I come in? I'm like, lady, read the sign. It was also funny though too, because one day I went down to get coffee from the lobby, and when I came up, she was like knocking on my neighbor's door, and she was like knocking, and then finally somebody comes to the door and was like, "We don't want you to come in to the room," and the lady just like out loud, very loudly, was just like, "Well, that's why I effing knocked." She said, but she didn't say effing. She said it. Okay. And look, I don't care. I'm not whatever, but it was pretty aggressive. And if I were working at a job and somebody else, a customer, was in the vicinity, I'm not talking like that. And then when I walked by, I swear to you, she goes, "Yeah, don't you just hate it when people don't like listen to when you knock?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why are you talking to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I hate that so much when I knock on doors that have signs that say don't come in." It was kind of weird. It's weird for somebody to like go kind of crazy and unprofessional and say something real wild and then be like, "You know what I mean, right?" And I didn't tell her. No, of course I was like, "Yeah, that's the worst, man." And then I snuck into my hotel room and locked it 3 times. I said, "Deadbolt, extra little chain thing." I said, "Do not come in here. You just made me feel awkward and I don't want to feel that way again." That's what I said in my head. But that was I got I got a little notepad with things here. Okay? Little notepad. Usually don't do that. I usually just ramble, but I'm trying to get through a lot of stuff happened. So that was the hotel side of it. Obviously, I was there for the festival, the Badgerland Festival. I flew in Wednesday night just so I could work through the day on Thursday, but Thursday night was my first show. I did a show at the Comedy Cabin, the comedy club there. And it's a very fun room. It's probably like a 75 to 100 person basement room. It's one of those clubs that I think most smaller towns, which Janesville I think is like 60,000. So I don't know that you call it a town, but most smaller cities that have clubs are kind of in similar venues, at least from my experience, which is kind of like, I don't want to call it a strip mall. It wasn't a strip mall. It was like a standalone building that has like, 6 businesses in it. And so you pull up there and you don't know what to expect. A lot of places, smaller cities don't really have like a downtown stretch where you can like, you're in downtown and you just walk downstairs to this really cool comedy club. But I pulled up and this comedy cabin, the comedy club, is in the basement of this place. So you walk down there and it totally gets you into the vibe of like, ooh, we're in a cool downstairs space, lower ceilings, just a tight 75 to 100 person room, and did the Thursday show. It was a smaller crowd. It was maybe like 15 or 20 people. But they were there for it. They were there to laugh and have fun. They were really good audience members. So ultimately it was a lot of fun. I think most of the other shows, I wasn't there, but I know the Friday show was sold out. And then I'm pretty sure the Saturday and Sunday shows were sold out as well. So I think I heard Thursday there were like protests going on, which I haven't been following the news super closely, but I think the college campuses were doing protests, and some of the audience members said that like a lot of their friends were going to come, but they were participating in the protests, I guess. I don't know. But either way, had a lot of fun Thursday. That was the first show I did. Friday night, did a show at a wine bar. which was downtown Janesville, a place called Janissa Wine Bar, I think. They had it on an outdoor patio upstairs. It was sold out. It was like a patio that could fit about 30 people. So it was a tight 30 people. Did 15 minutes there. Super fun show. They were into it. It was a very cool venue. It was just overlooking like the river that goes through the city. And all the comics did very well. It seemed to be a very good show. That was a very good time. They had the lights that were there. They had like the multicolor lights that were from the ground up, so you're like green and blue. But then above you was just like hanging lights. And because it was like nighttime in Wisconsin, I don't know, I think a little humidity or whatever, there's just a bunch of bugs and moths specifically. So the whole time we're all doing sets, I think we were all worried about like swallowing a moth because they're just like flying around. And you're like, oh boy, is this punchline going to be funny because they like the punchline or because I eat a moth? We'll find out, to be determined. But that was the Thursday night show. And after every night, we hung out afterwards, and that was a good time. I was like super tired. I think my allergies flying into like a more spring, an area that is already more advanced into spring. I feel like Wisconsin is. But I feel like this is the time that allergies start getting me, and just working out throughout the day, not getting as much sleep, not being in my bed. Ooh, it was, I think that was just weighing on my energy level a little bit. But Thursday night was fun. Hung out afterwards. That was Friday night. Saturday night, I ended up going to do a show in Slinger, Wisconsin. So that was like an hour and a half outside of Wisconsin. It was a very rural area, very rural crowd. That was also a very fun show. I did 15 minutes there to like a sold out room, probably like 50 or 60 people probably was the capacity of that space. And that was super fun. I mean, the whole thing was super fun. I really enjoyed a lot more. Some can be, pretty much all the festivals I've been to have been fun. Some are obviously better than others, and it just felt like the hangs and the comics and being able to like talk to people and feel accepted and not have like the awkward, like a ton of awkward moments, whatever, weren't really there. So it was nice to just hang around normal people. A lot of people there were from Milwaukee and Chicago and Madison. That was kind of like, I guess, obviously the local pool of people, since all those are within a couple hours of Janesville. But had a really good time, and got back Sunday morning. Oh boy, I was tired. I went to bed at like 1 and got up at like 5 to fly out. And when you're flying out on really short sleep like that, the whole time, every 30 minutes, you're just waking up like, did I miss my flight? Did my alarm clock go off? So first time having to get up that early and then drive, 45 minutes to the airport. Fortunately, the key drop off and everything was super basic. Again, small airport, so it wasn't a big deal. But I got coffee before the flight for the first time ever. I never do coffee before a flight. I'm like, that's a dangerous move, okay? I'm not trying to use the bathroom, numero dos, on a plane. But I said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to need it. It's only like a 2-hour flight, so I was like, I'll be fine. I also had an aisle seat, which is the only reason I got coffee. If I had a middle or a window seat, I would have said no. Because at the very least with the caffeine, you got to pee a lot. And I'm like, I just don't want to have to get up. But I ultimately got a cup of coffee. And here's this peeved me off a little bit. Is that the 5th grade way to say it? Peeved me off, man. You're peeving me. But the lady that filled up my coffee, there's 2 things here, okay? And it's not the end of the world. It's not even really her fault too much. But A, she filled up my coffee. I just got a black coffee. She filled it up literally equal to the top of the cup. So she puts the cap on there. As soon as I start drinking it, it's just dribbling through the cap onto my pants. And so I got it like all over myself, which that's obnoxious. So I took the cap off and I see that like she left literally zero room. And I'm like, well, yeah, you filled it up too high and now it's all over me. But also, after drinking some, I tried putting the cap back on and it was still dribbling out. So it was just the cap was defective. And I don't know how often that happens, but it just feels like that happens often enough to be like, how does anybody trust these caps? It's like, before I drink, I'm going to just start like putting it away from my pants and not even drinking it and just like testing the sides. Like, is this going to leak? Because that's like a big problem. You go to drink it and it just drips all over you. I mean, that's no bueno. And so that was whatever. Start the day. I was drinking that. There was a kid in the waiting lobby room, whatever you call the terminal, that was like screaming. It wasn't even screaming. He was screeching. So I'd poured coffee on myself. I'm listening to a kid screech. I'm on 4 hours of sleep. I'm like, I was like, this kid is for sure going to be sitting directly next to me, and this is going to be the worst plane ride of my life. But it wasn't. It was fine. Okay. Glass half full. Don't go glass half empty, Ben. When I'm on little sleep like that, I don't know. Like I said, the allergies too. My throat right now kind of like, it's not like I'm sick, but it just doesn't feel good. Which makes me think probably allergies are kind of at play and just kind of like making me glass half empty a little bit, you know? These flowers out here are making me irritable. But did the flight, got back, and Sunday, man, I was Sunday and yesterday. I've been irritable, which I was telling my girlfriend. I was like, I'm not upset at you at all. I just feel bad because I'm very irritable, and it's not your fault at all. And I'm like, logically, like, there's nothing to be mad at. But sometimes when you're just like, I don't know, lack of sleep, just the combination of all the things I just mentioned, mostly lack of sleep, I think. Sometimes you're just like, find yourself in these headspaces where you're like, gosh, man, I'm like way more angry at everything than I should be for no reason. So I need to go for a run. I'm going to go for a long run this evening and run out that irritability because I ain't got no time for that. But got back yesterday. Wasn't yesterday. Got back Sunday. This is a last minute recording, guys. I just haven't had a chance to do any of this stuff. So hopefully this will upload correctly and you will get this on time. If not, we'll all be super upset. But got back Sunday, flew in. Here's a weird thing that happened that also, again, it wasn't even ultimately a big deal. But it just kind of blew my mind that this is a scenario that would happen at an airport. But I'm at Madison. I'm on the plane. Okay, we're supposed to be like leaving and taking off like any moment. And we're sitting there for a while, haven't moved. And the captain gets on and he goes, "Hey guys, so the front landing gear, the front tire, is a little low on air. Maintenance has to come check it out and give us a thumbs up before we can leave. But here's the deal. It's a Sunday, so there's no maintenance crew here. So we got to call them to come out. That usually takes about 45 minutes. Hopefully we can get out of here, within a certain amount of time." Which, look, they told us that like 30 minutes after they had called maintenance, apparently. And so shortly after that maintenance got there, they took care of it. We ultimately, everything was pretty much on time. But the fact that you are an airport that has, Madison's not a huge airport, but it's one of the bigger cities in Wisconsin. Okay, and I mean, they have to have dozens of flights every day at a minimum. And you're telling me you don't have a crew there on Sunday? It's like, what is this, Chick-fil-A? You're like, dude, this is airport. You're talking about thousands of people traveling, hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent in aircraft, in crafts that are very, like, you have to make sure that they are working correctly. And you're just like, well, Sunday our maintenance guys like to sleep in. They're on call. You're like, what? That's crazy. I could not believe that. I was like, dude, this isn't like a little municipal airport where, like, solo pilots are going out in their little propeller planes just to fly for fun. And they're like, maintenance guy's not here today. You're like, we're talking about United Airlines. That's who I was flying with. They had TVs on this plane, which I didn't really pay attention to, but I will say that's not the norm. If I get a nice little iPhone plug-in, that's a big deal. I'm not used to that. But I got back yesterday, and I keep saying yesterday, got back Sunday. I was very tired, felt very out of it throughout the day, but I was kind of trying to stay up so I wouldn't nap and then be like awake when it was time to go to bed that night. I wanted to just try to power through it, but I felt way off, and I had a show that night. At a kava bar, and if you're not familiar with kava, it's like a root. Apparently this isn't just for kava, but maybe this is common for kava drinkers, but this specific place was like a recovery hangout, meaning like a bunch of former addicts would come here, and a lot of them would drink the kava maybe as like a replacement for something that's better than alcohol or drugs. But kava is a root that you can make into this drink. It looks like dirt, mud, dirt, water, dirty water. And apparently it like mellows you out and chills you out. I've never done it before. I've never had it, but that's what it does apparently. So during the show there, you got a bunch of people drinking kava, mellowed out. And I don't know. I tried to be in the moment, but I just felt like I didn't feel like I did great. I was doing a bunch of new stuff. It wasn't a big deal, but I was kind of just like not doing well, and I was trying to address it and be in the moment. It wasn't like I was on stage like, oh, it's just sometimes you're not getting much of a reaction, so you'll like try to address it, be like, all right, you guys weren't on board with that, and I did that maybe like 3 times, which is probably too many times to like mention like, oh, you guys didn't like that, and then after the 3rd time you're like, oh, you didn't like that. They're like, all right, stop saying it. But also it's one of those things where, if you're not getting a reaction, you're trying to be in the moment, then you're trying to just address what's happening in the room. Anyways, I was doing a new joke about my food allergies, and just the whole set, it was fine, but stuff wasn't working that well. And after the show, this guy comes up to me and he goes, he was like, yeah, I have food allergies too. And then he just starts talking, not about the jokes. He obviously didn't laugh at the jokes. Not many people laughed at the jokes. But it's funny to like not, to feel like you just didn't do that well on stage. And then have somebody come up and be like, he didn't say this, but kind of the vibe of, yeah, I don't care about your jokes. It wasn't my cup of tea or whatever, but you did talk about a topic that I would like to just talk to you about now. And he's like, I have food allergies too. And now I take this medication. I'm like, this is verbatim. He was like, I take this stuff now that I found, and like now I don't have diarrhea anymore. And I was like, ugh, this is my punishment for doing bad. This is what I get, I guess. You're like, yeah, don't, no need to be like, hey, those jokes related to me and I thought they were kind of funny. And here's why. It's just like, hey, you talked about food allergies. I used to have diarrhea. I'm like, oh gosh, no. What has happened here? And then I got trapped in that conversation for a while, and I was just like, oh man, I gotta be funnier and not talk about things that prompt people to come tell me about their bowel habits. But that was Sunday. That was good. What else do I got on here, man? Sunday Kava show from a video. Glasses, haircut. Glasses and haircut. Guys, I got another haircut. Did it. Went to Floyd's barbershop, paid 45, 40, whatever dollars. It was, I don't know. It looks fine. I thought it was a little quicker than the last one, which the last one, the lady took time and effort, and I was like, okay, this is worth the money. But when you're going to cut it almost in the time that Great Clips cuts it, and you're not going to bring out those fancy tools, then it's like, well, then why am I going to, why am I paying the extra $20? But I also think, so I got it cut here. I think next time, I've talked about this with my girlfriend. She is not on board. She's not a fan. But I want to just cut it. I just want to cut it off. Just buzz it. Whether it's me or a barbershop, just get rid of it. Not forever, but I just have mentally for the last year kind of wanted to do that. I think as a way to just ready myself for the impending baldness that will be coming. Like if I buzz it and then I just get used to like, okay, this look is not good, but now I'm familiar with what I look like and what I'm going to be facing shortly. And then grow it back out. And then when it ultimately goes, it's like, I remember, I have an idea of what I'm going to look like. It's not going to be as big of a surprise, I guess. So I want to do that. But here's the deal. I'm excited. I'm thinking about doing the haircut, but I think it'll hopefully look a little better. Not great. It's going to look terrible, ultimately. I don't know why I'm doing Trump hands right now. But I just got new glasses last night, too. Yesterday, I went and got my new prescription. It was the first time in like 5 years I've gone. And then went to Warby Parker. And you know what? I got the same style that I used to have. Those blue ones, they're called Percy. They're like more round, but not fully round, but more round. A little more stylish than these L7 weenie glasses that I've been wearing for the last year or so. But I got two colors. I got like a kind of a dark green hazel-esque. So it's like the style, which I think will look good, but it's not like a crazy in your face. But then the next style I got, it was the same style, both Percy. The lady there kept correcting me, and I could not get it together to remember the name of the lenses. But the other one, the second pair, is like a bright red, which is pretty bold. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off, but I think in certain situations it'll maybe be the appropriate thing to wear. So excited to get those in. I expedited the order to get them in before leaving for my United States of America tour here next week. It's not going to be regional. It's going to be all over the place. But that's where I'll land this plane, ending by talking about the tour that I got going on. Next week, next Wednesday, the 15th, until the 26th, I think. I'm going to be on the road with Edward Bell, fellow Denver comedian, going all over the place. We're going to be co-headlining some shows, and then he'll be headlining some, and I'll be featuring. But we're going to be going through Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, all over the place. We're going to be in a lot of spots. I'm very excited for it. I'm going to be co-headlining at the Comedy Avenue, which is a comedy venue in Lawton, Oklahoma. It'll be my first time there. Very excited for that. I think that's on maybe the 19th of May. Check out my calendar, my link tree. I'm going to be headlining Blue Ridge Comedy Club on May 23rd. That's the one I was making the promo video for, that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. But very excited for that. Very excited for just the entire trip. Going to be working out longer sets, seeing how the jokes come together and like how tight I've gotten things since the last tour I've done. So very excited for that. If you're in the area or any of those areas, please come check out a show. Come see it. Like I said, I've posted the dates on my Instagram. They should be on my link tree as well. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to touch base. But that's where I'm gonna end the episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know this one, let me know. Was this an interesting episode? This was just very like, this is what happened heavy of me talking about like comedy stuff that happened. It wasn't so much me going on tangents and rambling. I don't know. Let me know which one's funnier. Me just being like all over the place talking about dragons and cocoons and whatever, or if I'm like, hey, I did this thing with comedy. I'm going to do this thing with comedy. Here was like a fun scenario, just telling you real world things that happen. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I'm going to go ahead and end the episode there. Thank you guys so much for listening as always, and I'll see you guys again next week.